Welcome back, Album Book Club viewers. Today we are doing a review of the EP called Mahal by Glassbeams. Today Connor and I will be running through this EP. It's only about 15 minutes long. However, I myself enjoyed it quite a bit. I think overall it's a lot different than what you usually hear. I think it's technically a jazz album, but I don't even think it's categorized as that on Apple Music.
I wouldn't, but I don't think it is either. It's just alternative.
Yeah. I believe Glassbeams is technically a jazz artist. However, I think there's a video of them performing this as a live set, just like all the way through.
Yep.
I actually haven't checked that out, but I will definitely have to after this. The first song is more or less an intro. It's titled Horizon. I gave this song a 7 out of 10.
I gave the song a 6.5 out of 10.
It's fair. I think overall it was a good intro. I think it sets the atmosphere pretty well for the rest of the EP. Considering that this is only 15 minutes long, I think an intro is a little bit extra. Like it's not something that's like necessarily needed.
It's also a little long for an intro.
It's about like 40 seconds, I think.
I thought it was a minute 30.
Yeah, I thought it was about a minute.
It is 42. Okay, I thought it was longer than that.
Yeah, I think overall it does what it needs to do really well, but it doesn't do too much more, and I think it's good just because this EP as a whole kind of relies on its simplicity. But that's also what kind of makes it, good.
Yeah, no, I agree that it did what it needed to do great, but I got rules against intros and interludes, so 6.5 is like the highest I can give an intro.
It's fair.
But no, it was great. It did. I had it written at some point that it set the whole tone for everything.
Well, I guess that takes us then into our next song, which is Mahal, the title track of the EP. I gave this a 9.5 out of 10.
I gave this an 8 out of 10.
Honestly, I loved the sound of this EP, and this just jumps fully into that. It takes a lot of influence from like Eastern music. You hear a lot of those instruments, a lot of those effects, things like that. The song is super atmospheric, and it almost feels like heist chase music,
A little bit
in a sense, which I thought was really cool. It kind of feels like you're like at the end part of like the GTA 5 race, like running from the cops, and like this is what's playing in the background. Overall, I really just love the vibes of this. I think it's just a great song to just sit there and like jam out to. But I loved it personally.
Yeah, this song, well, this whole EP kind of is all just vibes. There's no lyrics on it.
Yeah.
But this is where they kind of brought like the drums in, so you get what that first song was building up to. Yeah, no, just all the instruments here. Like, I had to go look it up. I think I looked it up in the last song. This is where I switched to watching that full live performance. It's only 3 instruments. It's just a guitar, a bass, and a drum kit with like a couple extra things.
I was about to say, I think they have some like pads on there.
Yeah, and there's a tape player in the back of this live performance doing all the like ambient stuff later in the album.
That takes us then to Orb. I gave the song an 8.5 out of 10.
I gave this one a 7.5.
I think it's just a great continuation of that sound. It changes up the instrumentals just enough to keep it interesting, but also not to like break up the vibe too much. I think with like a 15-minute runtime, like total, this is just kind of like a journey that you take. It's almost like listening to just a 15-minute long song, except they're just broken up into a few different parts.
That is when you watch the full live performance, it's more like that because they kind of bridge in between some of the songs that didn't have anything. That like I know between this one and the next one, they added an interlude that wasn't there on the Apple Music.
Yeah, I mean, overall, just speaking musically, I really love the phasers that they use on this. You can kind of feel the music fading left and right, which I think is super cool. Just a very groovy song. Kind of like with Mahal, it's just great to jam out to. And I really love those, kind of like we were talking about before, those the synth pad, like the vocal effects that they have. Just little shots here and there is super.
I couldn't tell, but I do think they are doing those live in that performance too.
Really?
It looks like they are, but I can't tell because they all got masks on. But this one, I agree. It's a great continuation of the sound, but I thought it got a little bit repetitive. And the only reason I bring that up is because they do it better later in this EP with the changing up the instrumentation just enough to be different. And this one kind of looped the same riff a little bit longer than I would have hoped for, but other than that, it's great.
I believe that takes us then into Snake Oil. I gave a song an 8.75 out of 10.
I gave the song a 9 out of 10.
Did you ever play Super Mario Bros. Wii?
Mm-hmm.
The second world, like
Yep.
the soundtrack is playing in the background. That's exactly what I thought of.
100%.
Honestly, this song is still really cool, hands down. The strings on this song, I think, is what really brought it together.
Mm-hmm.
The combination of all the different influences, as well as just the tone on the guitar, it just really rounds it out. I don't know if they incorporate any different percussion into this or any percussive sounds.
No, I noticed
Or if I'm
towards the
thinking
end of this, I started to notice that the drums stay very similar throughout this.
That's fair.
In sound and in like rhythm too.
Mhm.
I didn't check, but I think in the last two it's the same drum pattern throughout, with maybe a couple different things added in.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this song, clear favorite on this EP for me. At the beginning, or the interlude between, they brought out an oscilloscope, I think it's called. I'll put a picture of it in the middle of the screen. They drop the drums, and it's just kind of, I think it was just kind of pads going, or like synth pads, just to bridge in between, and it came back, and it was great. This song just, I think, this sounds like what the EP was building to.
Yeah. Well, that takes us then to our last song, which is Black Sand. Black Sand I gave an 8.6 out of 10.
Black Sand, I gave a 7 out of 10.
Honestly, I really like the guitar tone on this song. This is what got it for me. Super fat. Great use of reverb, the phasers, again. The synth pad was going crazy on this song too. Just plenty of effects just being thrown out. And not in a sense that it was like exuberant, but I just really like the way they added the sound. I thought it was just a great way to end off the EP overall. It doesn't really change up the sound too much, and I think that might be one of like the failing points of it. If you know, I feel like that's a bit of extreme of a term to use, but I think overall it was a great song.
Yeah, you're taking words right off of these notes. The sound changed enough to be an ending, but I don't think enough to be super different from the first two. Because it did switch back kind of after Snake Oil, but I feel like it didn't do... It could have done different in like the first half of the song, because the second half is just a really long solo and it's sick. But the first half kind of just sounds like the first two tracks, and that's where my rating came from, but it was still sick and a great way to end this EP.
And then I believe that takes us then into the album art.
Yes, sir.
The album art, I'm going to give an 8.25 out of 10.
I'm going to give it just a solid 8 out of 10.
I think the album art is simple, but it kind of still... Like, you look at the album art and you pretty much know what you're going to get yourself into. You know where the musical influences are going to come from, the patterns that they have, or really the pattern on the front of the cover is just kind of... It's great to look at, not gonna lie. It's aesthetically pleasing. The album cover overall is very aesthetically pleasing. It's very sleek, but at the same time, I just don't think there's really too much to it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm not even looking at my notes anymore because you're just reading them off without even seeing them. I think I've said it before, but with EPs, I think keeping it simple most of the time with the album arts is the best move, and this does it great. Gives you just enough to know what you're getting into, but not like just tons of shit everywhere. Right. There's the patterns kind of behind the window that I think in every time I've seen it is moving, which is sick. But I think it does a great job of telling you what you're going to get into.
Well, I believe that concludes this episode of Album Book Club EP Reviews. Thank you for joining us in reviewing this wonderful EP. If you have anything you would like us to review, leave some suggestions down in the comments. And thank you again for joining us. Have a great rest of your day or night.